Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today's chapter 1 reading comes from the second book in the Midnight Detective Agency series, Murderous Faeries. It was published in 2024 and is an urban fantasy mystery. Chapter 1, Bethesda, Maryland. It'd been a few weeks since I helped Bloodsworth take down one of the largest junk food trafficking rings in the other world. I gave 1 week's notice at the newspaper, much to the chagrin of Rebecca, and paid off my lingering debts as I waited for a new case. That meant helping Drusilla acclimate to my apartment and extra trips to the Caffeinated Dragon down the street while waiting and waiting and waiting some more. Since I'm paid whether there's a case or not, I was delighted that we hadn't been assigned a new case yet. Not just because of the automatic bi-weekly pay, but because that meant no one had been hurt. My first case was one I'd never forget, and maybe it got easier with time, but I was still bothered by the careless deaths of 2 young women over something as benign as junk food. I wouldn't mind if Bloodsworth and I weren't assigned a case for another month so I could get over the nightmares and jumpiness that often haunted me. My increased caffeine intake did not help. And while I pondered that thought, Damien handed me another latte. I shot him a smile, pulled a $20 bill from my wallet, and popped it into the tip jar. Tessa, that's the 5th time in 3 weeks you've tipped me $20. You're going to mess up your monthly spending allowance for coffee. And then what? Damien asked, crossing his arms. It's no big deal. I doubled my coffee budget. You'll have to triple it if you keep the big tips up, even though you're making bank now. I took a sip of my latte before saying, why are you discouraging my big tip giving ability? I like seeing you around the coffee shop. If you run out of money, then you won't show up and I'll be stuck with the other regulars that are nice but don't want to interact with me in any meaningful way, Damien explained. Or the nasty ones that I kick out of the shop. Those are such a joy. I sighed, knowing that feeling all too well. People weren't very nice around here. I get it, but I think that's a DC thing. It's not like that in Salem. Honestly, Tessa, seeing you every morning helps me get through the day sometimes. Is that honest enough to get you to budget your tips? I bit the inside of my lip, trying to hold back happy tears as I nodded. Definitely honest. Please don't cry into your coffee. Tears aren't part of the ingredient list, and I'd have to charge you for a new cup, Damien teased. I waved him off, gulping back a heartfelt but heavy lump in my throat and slid into my usual spot in the fantasy book section. I sipped my coffee slowly, replaying the interaction in my mind before my phone buzzed. I put the coffee down and pulled out my phone to answer it. Hello, Mom. How's it going? There was a scratchy noise as my mom pushed back her hair for better hearing. Then she said, I'm doing well, sweetie, and so is your dad. He's on one of his art binges right now, but he sends his love and apologies for not speaking with you the past 2 weeks. I'm used to his art binges, but I appreciate the care. What have you been doing lately? Anything with the coven? I asked, leaning back in the coffee shop's comfy chair. We're going to start up our alchemy classes next week. I don't have a talent for alchemy, but it's always fun to watch. Are you still in Bethesda, perchance? Your father and I were thinking of visiting in 3 weeks. Yes, I'm still here. I talked to Bloodsworth yesterday and there's no leads so far. Not like I want them to be, but it's just odd sitting around doing nothing while I'm being paid. It feels wrong, I guess, I muttered, trying to explain what I was feeling in the pit of my stomach. It'd been with me since last week, and I didn't know what to do with this wanting to be assigned to a new case and not at all. That's what being on call means, she replied and sighed into the phone a little too loudly. Tessa, I know it's tough. When you're on a case, it eats you up mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually until you're at the point where all you want to do is sleep. But then one day you wake up and you've healed enough to go out and do your job again. I was silent for a moment, lost in my mother's words. She was right, per usual, but this time I was glad. When you put it like that, yes, absolutely. I slept for days after finishing my first case, but it's been 2 weeks and I don't have anything to do except clean, talk to Bloodsworth, Althea, visit Damien at the coffee shop, and get Drusilla settled into my apartment. It's not enough. You were always an active child. We had to get you into multiple after-school activities on top of your hobbies and your schoolwork for you to settle. By the way, how's Drusilla doing with George? Are they still fighting for space? I let out a growl of frustration. Yes, and I don't know why Drusilla wants the closet that George is in. I have one in my bedroom he could take, but no. He probably wants to give you space, though I'm not sure why he wants to share with George. How about the pantry? He says it's too dark, no light to turn on. So he wants an enclosed space, but also light? How about under your television set and the space behind it? Your setup is so simple, there's only one wire, and I'm sure Bloodsworth can move that to the side or nail it to the wall. Nail it to a wall? That'd be interesting, I chuckled, trying to picture Bloodsworth with a nail gun, a tattooed up 500-year-old vampire with a 1920s undercut, revving up a nail gun with a slick grin spread across his face. He's old, no offense. I'm sure he's used a nail gun before, Tessa, my mom argued with a hint of a laugh. Don't underestimate him when it comes to technology. He's survived well in a changing world, even though he complains about it. I wasn't judging, I was picturing him with a nail gun. His persona is one of a psychobilly punk rocker, and I can't take him seriously when it comes to handyman work. Sounds a little judgmental to me, my mom began, but was cut off as Althea's name popped up on my phone screen with a preview of a text message. I muttered to my mom to wait for a second as I opened the text. Good afternoon, Tessa. You'll be heading to Santa Fe in a few hours. I'm preparing the travel arrangements right now. Do you prefer a flight after 8 or something earlier in the morning? The flight's 5 hours long nonstop. I'm trying to help Bloodsworth save on sunscreen usage, so I want you all to fly during the nighttime. Let me know ASAP. I put the phone back to my ear with an incredulous smile. Mom, I have to go. We've just been assigned to a new case. Thank you so much for listening to the first chapter reading of my novel, Murderous Faeries, which is available on Amazon. Thank you for joining me once again, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!